and welcome to Hosting with Susanna, where I help you create beautiful parties and fun gatherings to bring people together. Today we're making my swoon-worthy turkey bacon skewers. This is a great thing to make if you're doing my Totally Buggin' party, which is a clueless fan-inspired parody party. And these skewers were inspired, as much of the menu for this party was inspired by the scene where Cher and Dion are walking to PE class, and Cher starts listing off everything that she ate today because she says she's feeling like a heifer, and she says she ate Special K, turkey bacon, licorice, peanut butter M&Ms, and popcorn. So all of those items are all throughout the menu for this party, and this is where our turkey bacon comes in. So we are gonna have these very delicious and also healthy skewers that we're making that will have turkey bacon in them. So this recipe is for making a dozen skewers. So if you're having a bigger party and need to make more, just adjust the numbers accordingly. But for 12 skewers, you're going to need 24 to 36 broccoli florets. So this varies just because the size of the broccoli florets and asparagus and Brussels sprouts will vary from skewer to skewer. So some will be able to fit 2 pieces of broccoli floret and some will be able to fit 3. So it'll just vary. And then you'll need 12 asparagus, 24 Brussels sprouts, 24 slices of turkey bacon. You will need 3/4 of a teaspoon of parsley. This will be divided into thirds. You'll need 1.5 teaspoons of basil. This will also be divided into thirds. You'll need 3/4 teaspoons of parsley, also divided into thirds, and you'll need 6 tablespoons of olive oil, which will also be divided into thirds. And then we just have salt and pepper, just a dash of that for taste. And then you'll need a dozen skewers. If you're using wooden skewers like I am, make sure to soak these in water for at least a half an hour. I would even recommend to soak them overnight if you can do that. So we want to have our wooden skewers soaked in water because the dry wood in the oven could catch fire very easily, so we do not want to risk that or have any fire hazards. So soak them overnight or for at least a half an hour. And then we'll have foil to wrap up the ends of our skewers as well, also as a fire safety precaution, because exposed wood with nothing covering it could also catch fire in the oven. So again, safety first. We'll have foil to wrap those, and then you're gonna want 8 ounces of smoked Gouda, which we'll end up using at the end, so just set that aside for right now. So to get started, we're gonna divide up our broccoli florets into 1 medium-sized bowl, our asparagus in 1 medium-sized bowl, and our Brussels sprouts in 1 medium-sized bowl. And then I already have my broccoli and my Brussels sprouts all washed, ready to go, the ends chopped off. And then we're going to take our asparagus, and we're also going to chop these up. So go ahead and cut off that end that you don't want to eat. And then we're going to take our asparagus and we're going to cut them into either thirds or fourths, depending on how long they are. So since this is a shorter one, I'll cut it into thirds. So you want it to be pieces that are about this size to put on your skewer. So we'll continue chopping up our asparagus accordingly. Okay, now that we have our asparagus all chopped up, we're going to go ahead and add that back to its bowl. Now in each bowl, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Now we'll add 1/4 of parsley to each bowl as well. We'll add 1/2 teaspoon of basil to each bowl. And we'll add 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder to each bowl. And then we'll just add a dash of salt to each bowl, however much you want for your tasting. And we'll add a dash of ground pepper to each bowl, also to taste, whatever your preferences. Now we'll go ahead ahead and take a big spoon or spatula and stir all of these up. We want to get the olive oil and all the herbs and seasonings just well coated over all of the vegetables. Okay, now that we have our broccoli florette, our asparagus, and our Brussels sprouts all well coated in our olive oil, our herbs, and our seasonings, we're ready to go ahead and start sticking things on the skewers. So we're gonna start out with a piece of broccoli florette first. Go ahead and just stab that through. Okay, so we slid on our piece of broccoli florette. Go ahead and leave about like 1.5 to 2 inches at the top of your skewer, because we're gonna pile it from about here to here with things. And then we're gonna take a Brussels sprout and a slice of turkey bacon, and we're gonna wrap that Brussels sprout in our turkey bacon. Now we're gonna stick our Brussels sprout wrapped in turkey bacon through our skewer. Now you'll take a piece of chopped asparagus and also slide that into your skewer. I suggest putting your asparagus on an angle. If you go straight through, it tends to kind of rip, and to go long ways is also really hard. So at an angle seems to be the best way that I've found to stick your asparagus on your skewer. Now we're going to proceed with another piece of broccoli florette. Another piece of Brussels sprout wrapped in turkey bacon. Another piece of asparagus. And most likely you're going to want to add a third piece of broccoli. So we want to have about like 1.5 inches to 2 inches at each end. And there we go. Now we'll just continue to fill up the rest of the skewers in the same way. Now that we have this baking sheet filled with skewers, we're going to go ahead and take our aluminum foil and we're going to wrap it around the ends of our skewers, if you're using wooden ones, just so there's no wood exposed. I forgot to note earlier that the asparagus is also an inspiration from the movie as well. So there's that scene where Cher, Josh, and her dad are having dinner together, and she of course had Lucy make a low cholesterol meal for her dad's health, and so asparagus is on their plates, and as Cher is talking to her dad and Josh, she is just munching away at it, just holding it and munching away. So I thought I had to add asparagus as well to one of the recipes, and it just paired so perfectly with the turkey bacon. And then I brought in the Brussels sprouts and broccoli because they also just combine so perfectly with turkey bacon and asparagus. So that is how the whole inspiration for these skewers came about. Okay, now that we have our ends of our skewers all wrapped up in aluminum foil, we're ready to pop these in the oven. I have my oven set at 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're going to cook these for 30 to 40 minutes. So halfway through the baking process, I'm going to go ahead and flip around my baking sheet. Also, since I'm using wooden skewers, I'm going to check on them quite frequently just to make sure that everything is cooking properly and that there's no flames. If you're using metal skewers, you can do a higher temperature. You could do 350 or 400, and you could do less time, usually like 20 to 30 minutes, or whenever everything looks well done. Yeah. That's all I want to note for these. Let's go ahead and pop them in the oven. Okay, now that our skewers are in the oven roasting, we're gonna go ahead and take our smoked Gouda and we're gonna cut it up into cubes. Once those skewers are out of the oven and have cooled down a bit, we're gonna go ahead and cap off each end of our skewers with our smoked Gouda. This is just such a nice touch to add with the vegetables and meat, to add a little something extra. But if you do have friends that you know are coming to your party who are dairy-free, lactose intolerant, go ahead and make some on the side without the Gouda so that they have a chance to eat those ones, and then your guests who don't have any dairy issues can eat the ones with the smoked Gouda. All right, let's go ahead and cut these into cubes. Okay, our spoon-worthy turkey bacon skewers are out of the oven. They're cooled down. We're gonna go ahead and take the foil off of the ends. And we're going to place our little cubes of Gouda cheese at each end of our skewers. And there we have it, our finished swoon-worthy turkey bacon skewers. I hope you and your friends love this little clueless twist on a skewer. See you next time. So yummy.